triumph in the trap.
This is for the Dobbs.
Do you believe in miracles?
Ay, I play chess, but only in 4D. I'm by myself, but they think I'm 4D. When they see me online, they think they know me. Go ahead, like and subscribe, you gotta show me. I applied pressure and they tried to reject it. Clearly ain't see I was a diamond, so they didn't accept it. Told me I was a failure, so I said F it. Might even start my own school and teach them a lesson. Yeah, I'ma call it South Harmon. Fly down south and get the South poppin'. One day I'ma give you a walkthrough and introduce you to this warp tool. I know you lost, that's just dynasty talk. Cause you can't start no franchise without no dynasty chart. I took a break from the game, they throw my dynasty stop. Till I came back like Wembanyama, I feel like Coach Pop. I can't say that I'm the GOAT, cause you ain't gonna agree. But if I own my own farm, I can make the GOAT. Me, the ladies love the beard and they used to love the goatee. That's when I was a lamb, burning music on CDs. I wasn't born in 88, December 87, that was 16 days away. Might fly to Dallas, why not? I just got paid today. When I land this dirt statue, I came to fade away. Check the timeline for the stories and the play-by-play. My life a Patreon link, you gotta pay to play. I work 16 hours, boy, that's an 8 and 8. X Factor like Dez Bryant, my boy 88. Why dream light when you living like a heavyweight? This ain't a 1 week thing, we grind like every day. They know my destination, Devi, like I hang with Ray. If they ain't know my name, I bet they know my name today. Treat this mic like an ATM, let's make a trade today. Drop this on Fizzle Friday, cause that's my favorite day. And I'm gonna do it my way, cause that's my favorite way. They tried to put me on the shelf like I'm layaway. Told me it ain't no way, so I made a way. Welcome to South Harmon, I'm glad you here today. Welcome to South Harmon, I'm glad you here today. I'm glad you here today. Welcome to South Harmon, I'm glad you here today. I'm glad you here today. Hit that Patreon link if you here to stay, Treat this mic like an ATM, let's make a trade today.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back into the Dynasty Trade Show. So glad you could join us. Really appreciate you. If you could do us one favor, though, we are running a giveaway right now, and the big thing about running the giveaway is going and following Fizzle Dollars on Twitter. He's running the South Harmon FF Twitter account, and or X, however you want to do it. I'm still learning. I'm sorry. I'll get used to it, but Fizzle is the man. He runs a great account. Go check him out. That's a big part of the giveaway. And if you'd like to win a South Harmon extra large bomber jacket, which is absolutely fantastic, do that. And as always, if you like your deals featured, patreon.com/South Harmon, $5 tier, get you the access to the Trade Show channel. Jeez, man, I'm stumbling over my words today. Trade Show channel, where you can post your deals with Adam and myself. We can break them down. But other than that, how are you doing, Adam? Ready to look at some Dynasty trades?
I am. I'm always ready to. This is exciting, man. We're always going to get into the Dynasty trades. We're going into week 4. Starting tomorrow, you'll be watching, the week 4 games. Well, actually, technically Thursday. You've already seen one. So without further ado, though, as you listen to, we start off with one of our own. Mike already hit all the preludes. He's saying he's stumbling over his words, but he checked all the boxes already. We're good. Let's get right into it, Mike, and let's get into this is what happens. This isn't even technically what we would consider a quarterback hoard, but this is what we call, the hostage situation. Like, we know I have what you need, and if you want it, you got to pay the hostage price. So, Mike, this is I'm not going to put the settings in here, but this is Shit Auction 3. And if you know about Shit Auction 3, you don't need all the details, but it's basically a best ball, start 12, start 13, like we normally do, right? The settings are kind of irrelevant, but it's a best ball shit league.
Right.
So you got someone sniffing around. This is Sunny D926, by the way, friend of the show, looking for Gardner Minshew. He's calling him Johnny Ringo, right? So he sends me an offer, followed up with, "You open to moving Johnny Ringo at all?" And see, if you know me, I don't really answer questions like that in a text. I do it back with,
Gifts.
Listen, your fab's nice, right? But here's the counter. I need 2/3. I don't want your fourth. I don't want your fab. I want 2/3. You pay for him or you don't. And he sends, all right, you got me. The gift that he sends there, like, all right, you got me. You're holding me over the fire here, and there you go. We shake on it. That's a deal. So, Mike, let me ask you, though, is 2/3 for Gardner Minshew to a team that really needs him in best ball fair, overpriced? Like, would you pay 2/3 if you're like, man, I really need a spot start and I think there could be a couple more weeks from Gardner sometime?
No.
Okay. Would you pay a single third?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would pay a single third.
Well, so I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, all jokes aside, this isn't this is a laughing matter, but what is the cutoff then for you? Like, all right, so let's say I say a third. Sorry, you say a third, and I say it's a little light. Is that the top dollar? Do you go third and a fourth, or is it just a single third and I'm out?
I think you can throw in force, just in general, outside of our shit IDP, which we've highlighted a couple times on this show already. Like those force generally, they generally don't matter. They're just kind of whatever. Like, as I'm sending out my force everywhere for Donald Parham and all these best ball leagues, right? Most of them got declined already, so you don't even have to. I don't have to worry about outing myself. But
right,
they really don't matter who really gives a shit. So, if I got to attach a fourth or a fifth, a third, a fourth, and a fifth to like get the spot start quarterback in a best ball league, yeah, who cares? Yeah, I'd send it.
Gotcha.
2 though, pass. Like, if this is the price
so what do
it,
you do then? Do you just allow yourself to take a loss here for the week, or maybe for a couple weeks possibly, or what do you do?
There's other teams to explore. Like, this one of the more interesting things. Like, not that I'm upset about it, but I also have a QB horde going on with quarterbacks that aren't Gardner Minshew.
Oh, I was wondering if we were going to get to this part of the discussion, because I looked at your team after the trade went through, and I was like,
hey.
Now the one difference is the quarterbacks you have, though. Like, probably I will say this for Sonny D. To your point, if you're uncomfortable with the price, you should always go explore elsewhere before you take the offer. Even if you're thinking about it, like, all right, let me see what else is out there. I do think, though, the fact that this was more of a spot start buy, where your quarterbacks are more of a, you're going to tell yourself it's a permanent solution buy. That might have been the caveat of exploring. Not that he shouldn't have explored, but I think that probably is what happened here. If you want to list out, I'm sorry, your quarterbacks, by the way, that you have that he could have explored, go ahead.
Tua, Deshaun Watson, Mac Jones, Kirk Cousins.
Which, let's just put the cards on the table. There's nothing that goes out of the door there that's not a first at minimum.
Correct.
So there's a much different cost of acquisition too.
This is one of the weird things too. It's about how your roster constructed going in, and when we talk about best ball, Adam, I really don't care how good my 2 quarterbacks are. Like, I need 3. I need 3 in a best ball league if I'm a serious contender. This is one of the things with Sunday D's roster construction he did not have, right? He's got Josh Allen. He had Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson goes down with a concussion.
Well, I also wanted to mention this is also a part of the thing I forgot to mention. Why that GIF is so important is he's actually buying the quarterback handcuff, right? It's not like you're buying really a spot start for
a random.
You're buying
a Jake Brown.
You're buying your second quarterback, really. Like, this isn't also a spot start. Like, if you were to buy Dobbs, let's say, right? That's different because maybe there's weeks where you have 3 quarterbacks. Now, this is just simply you have 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, and that's not how you should be roster constructing in best ball. Like, I'm pretty confident in saying that, unless you get lucky with that third quarterback. If you rolled in with a Josh Allen and a Joe Burrow, or let's just put another guy, in the elite tier, and we understand that some of them underperformed to begin the year, but if that's how you roll into the season, you should at least have a handful of those guys where you hope that at least early in the season you can get lucky with a Zach Wilson. You can get lucky with one of these guys who takes over a job early in the season due to injury or whatever the case may be.
Right.
I don't want to be finding myself in week 3 already having to give up 2 third-round picks for a guy that I'm going to use for 1 week, and then still doesn't help me during the time that Anthony Richardson then goes on bye, right? It's not like Gardner Minshew can step up and not have a bye week. He's got the same bye week. He's on the same team.
One of the things I did, I didn't put the settings in. One of the other part of the settings that is important, though, this is a 2-quarterback league, right? So when you have a Rich out, honestly, Mike, in Superflex, to the point you're making, if I have 2 quarterbacks, I'm constantly looking for a third. Every week waiver wire. Trading. Yes. Where can I buy one? Right? Like, if I don't have that already, I'm thinking, I know I'm light. How do I get it? I'm not waiting until one of them gets hurt to say, now I need my third. Because now you're getting a second. To the point that's even further, though, in 2-quarterback, Mike, is third is a necessity. If I don't have a third in 2-quarterback, even if that third's way down the line, to your point, Zach Wilson, Baker Mayfield, I got to have something, man. Even if it feels dirty. Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy G, somebody, 2-quarterback. Because just on bye weeks, Mike, you need those. Like injuries, all kinds of stuff happen. So in 2-quarterback, when you don't have another one, like you're literally putting in a 0. You can't even hope for a Superflex luck in week. Like that's an actual 0 without a quarterback.
I would have hoped that you went also to like the manager who has Joshua Dobbs, right? That was kind of found money, you know, and at least offered this. Would I rather have Joshua Dobbs or Gardner Minshew? I'd have Dobbs because I know even outside of that, it's a best ball league. I might get another week or 2 out of Dobbs, even randomly, if A-Rich was fully healthy.
Correct. That's what I was getting at. Correct.
Like I might get a performance from Dobbs at least once or twice that might supersede my Josh Allen and Anthony Richardson. I would go to the guy with Tannehill who's been struggling and see what he wanted for him because it can't be too much more. I'm not saying that it's going to be 2/3, but
you could have went to the guy with Baker.
The guy with
That's
Baker,
what I
right?
Have. Baker. He was already went there.
The guy with Jimmy Garoppolo, right?
I don't have Jimmy G.
You don't have Jimmy G. You don't have the. I
got some gross ones. I got Zach Wilson. When I get to one thing I did want to mention though, Mike, in 2-quarterback to this point you're making, 2-quarterback and Superflex do vary a little bit for me in that like, I think in this league we have 32 spots.
Yeah.
So it's
probably
enough.
35. That's what I did. I think 35.
Okay, 35. So there's enough there in 35 where it's like, all right, I'll even in Superflex, I'll roster some. But in 2-quarterback, Mike, I'll go a little further. I'll roster even more fringy ones in 2QB because something like this happens.
Get you.
And then also, Mike, if this offer never comes to the table, I'll take this Gardner Minshew spot start and happily have it roster a 0 a lot easier in 2-quarterback. Right? As long as I'm going no further than like 5 or 6. Yeah. I'll push the limits on 2-quarterback leagues even further than Superflex with the grossness. Because here's the thing, when I get this Gardner Minshew share, I'm actually not thinking I'm probably selling it. I'm thinking like, I'll take that 3 weeks of production if it comes. I'm happy with that. But then this is found money, Mike, for me to get 2/3 for it because I still have Zach Wilson. I still have Baker. I still have Patrick Mahomes, but I have a bunch of gross ones after that. I have Jameis Winston now, right? Like I've actually kind of hit the lottery with the injured quarterbacks, but that's what I'm trying to do in 2-quarterback versus in Superflex. I'm a little more hesitant to roster too many of those guys because no one's going to pay this 0 burger in their lineup for 1 week price in Superflex. Right. They're gonna think that they're gonna get Tank Dell or whoever it's gonna be in their Superflex spot.
And hindsight's always 20/20, right? But
I could have also grabbed all the wrong ones and it wouldn't have made any difference, right?
You paid. If you're Sunny D, you paid 2/3 for a guy who was QB 23 on the week, wasn't above average, right? You filled the spot, which is probably the most beneficial, but you still took the L for the week. So you're like, damn it.
Well, I did want to mention that is that at this price, Mike, the problem I have with it is like at a single third, like it's probably not that bad. Like if I lose, I still don't care. You pay 2/3, like you better fucking win the week. Because that's what you're paying at a loss price. You better come away with the dub. Otherwise, like, don't you just take the L for a week?
The guy in your case getting the 2/3, you're giving up an ancillary asset that is almost, let's just say, like borderline droppable, even in a best ball league, like borderline droppable because of zeros, right?
Yeah.
If we go like 7-8 weeks into the season, Anthony Richardson's a top 7, 8, 9 quarterback playing really well and hasn't had any injury concerns at all. Mm-hmm. And you're sitting there rostering a Gardner Minshew, even in a 2 QB league. Like at some point when you're contending, you look at it and go, I got to get this fucking 0 off my team. Like,
You
let me
don't-
get a Julian Hill of all things.
Right.
Let
You
me
only
just
want to
drop
roster
this
so
turd.
many of those zeros. And even then,
Right.
as you get further along, you're like, how long do I want to keep waiting on this that's not happening? That's the other problem.
You turned a fringe guy. Now, maybe it doesn't happen this year, but you have 2 chances at an early-ish third-round pick, which in best ball does mean something. Like, it definitely means something.
Mhm.
And now you have 2 more third-round picks in your arsenal where if you're in this situation, maybe by the midpoint or towards the end point of the year where you're in contention, Adam, now you are the one with the flexibility and the liquidity to go buy a Josh Dobbs if you're still starting at that point, if you need the quarterback. So
Right.
I like this. Like, I will liquidate these kind of guys for especially 2/3. Now, a single third, I think we'd have a different conversation where it's like, okay, like, who really cares? From your end, you got a third. Congratulations to you, Adam, but I would pay the price. I'm not paying 2 of them, though. Like, I'm pass.
Last question, because we need to get on from this trade. But I actually think this one is one of those that's not the sexiest, but actually a good digestible discussion, right? Because let me say, Mike, what if this is a third? Now, if you see the counter before, like, or the starting offer, like that fourth don't mean nothing to me. Now, the fab, though, is very interesting.
Could be if you're competing, right?
Even if it's not, Mike, I can put this into a trade. This is something I can go buy something and sell it. Like, fab and best ball long lineups like this mean something to me. Now, my question is, if it's a third and 150, what do you say?
I think I'd want
This
the
is of
third and
$1,000
150.
budget, by the way. So it's not
Yeah.
like this isn't
It's
150 of
15%.
200, right? It's not like
If you were in
15%,
$100,
yes.
if you were in $100, it'd be a $15.
$15. Yeah, it's not
Right,
crazy.
which isn't, not a crazy amount of fab, right?
Agreed.
Like, I would want more percentage of fab, to be completely honest, but, a third and some fab, it's enough of a grease piece for me to
What if
consider
it's
just.
30%?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
think
I'm
so.
with you.
If somebody also, too, like, if I was a contender, Adam, say this was, I'm kind of like borderline in this league. But I have a decent enough quarterback situation. I know Gardner Minshew is going to be a spot start this week for me, or have the possibility of making my lineup. But my quarterback room's already good.
Right.
I'm already competing.
Right.
Like, if I was in your shoes, then if in Sunday D came to me for Gardner Minshew for the week, like, the third round picks, that's what I want to get. But say it wasn't the option. It was like, I want to give you a fourth. I'm going to keep boosting that fab up until it's like 65, 75, 80% of his budget, because I know that fab's going to come into play for me as a contender later down the line.
Now, so what's interesting is that was what I was going to get to next, and it's a good bridging. So there's 2 talking points for me that before we get out of this trade. One, Mike, when you get that offer, right, 15% of fab and fourth, like, that's a joke. You can miss me with that. Right? Like, that offer is not what I don't consider taking that for Gardner Minshew at all.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I have him going to start, and I know you have A-Rich.
Right.
Okay? But I want to make sure that this is actually a serious point, though. A lot of times I've seen people do this, and I've actually done it myself before. You kind of scoff at this offer, and you basically burn it because you, like, blow it up. This is a bullshit offer. You just... Okay, like, this is low, but I know what you're doing. You're sniffing at the player that you need. And I go straight to nut cutting time. Here's 2/3. This is what I'm thinking.
Let's do it.
It's a lot different than yours. He ends up taking the deal. But the reason I want to talk about this point is, one, don't kill a deal before it started. You say, oh, this is just ridiculous. I'm not going to just give you Gardner Minshew. Put out your counter. Make sure you counter back or have a discussion with where you're at. Because you don't know what someone will take just because of their starting offer, one. And then two, Mike, if he would have said no to this, let's say we just go down this hypothetical for everyone, if you were to do this for yourself. Okay, so if he says no, where are you at and what would you sell? And to me, Mike, the absolute starting point was going to be, I want at least one of these thirds, even if you give me your 25. Right. But if you don't do that, you're going to have to juice up this fab to the point where you're basically losing your clip. That's the only other option. Those are the 2 options. Otherwise, I'll just keep Gardner Minshew, and you can have no quarterback. So, anyway, I thought that point at least is like, all right, someone's not going to just give you 2/3. There's other ways you can go about extracting the value, and don't just cut off someone in a trade that you think is giving you a shitty offer. Speaking of offers, let's talk about this one, Mike. 12-team Superflex, half PPR, half point side and premium lineup start 10 hot butter.
Hop Butter Dynasty.
Mike, we had a little discussion on this trade here. You got this offer out there, and let's just say something. Well, we'll get to that. The offer is currently Travis Kelce, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brandon Cooks, Stephon Diggs is what you are receiving. You are sending away a 25 first that I'm assuming is your own, and Bryce Young. So once again, 12 team Superflex. It's half point PPR. A half point tight end premium. It's a lineup start 10 league, so very different than the last one we were looking at. Mike, walk us through this here. We can get to the talk of you and I having discussion on this, but just initially when you saw the trade offer, what did you think?
I'm the one who sent out the offer. So this is Thomas Tipple, fellow content creator, does his own show. Mm-hmm. This is one of the things, you just kind of browse league chat, and you see all these guys go up on the block like Kelce and Stephon Diggs, and he says, time to
get off of old assets, yeah.
Time to throw in the towel. So you're thinking, let me put you in my mindset too. Like heading into the season, Adam, I leveraged my future for 2024 already to go get 2 elite quarterback assets. And it was a trade that was featured on the show. I believe I got Trevor Lawrence or maybe Justin Herbert in that trade.
Yep.
Where I went, hey, let's go. Let's move up in quarterbacks. The warp tells me, let's do it. Quarterbacks make the difference in it.
Right.
So I'm sitting here. I'm 0-2. I've already leveraged my 24 pick, right? Mm-hmm. Bryce Young's my third quarterback, and I got a guy that wants to get off Kelce and Stephon Diggs. How can I appeal to what makes sense for them and also what makes sense for me? There's no point in me holding on to dynasty value long term,
right?
If my 24 picks are already pushed in. The window is let's do it now, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously discussion on how far you want to cut it into, 25 and stuff. But to your point, you've already made your decision to go in. So now it's, can I continue to lean into that, and what's the cost? I'm 100% with you on that.
Can I go? So when I see assets like Travis Kelce, we know about warp difference makers. Travis Kelce is definitely one of those guys. Stephon Diggs is an elite wide receiver, even in a half PPR.
Yes.
I only got to start one wide receiver, but if I'm starting Stephon Diggs every week, I feel pretty damn good about it.
Yes.
It's pretty good.
Yes.
Let's do it. Bryce Young's my third quarterback. How many times am I going to consciously start Bryce Young over Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert, even with Trevor Lawrence playing bad? That could be very often.
And I think this is another thing, too, with this one. At least for me, Mike, the discussion you're having right here, and when we talked about this is easy, I think, for people in Dynasty to think, all right, I'm not trying to let go of tomorrow either, right? Because you're saying to yourself, Bryce Young is this young stud. He could become something special later. But you're having the conversation right now, Mike, where he is your quarterback 3, right? So, how often am I actually making him a lineup consideration? When healthy, the answer is not.
No.
Right? So you have this dynasty value stored up at a position that doesn't make a lineup start 10 every single week. And it's a big portion because in lineup start 10, think about how, for lack of better words, it's such an important position and it's a hammer, right? But dynasty value wise, not forget points per game for a second. The elite quarterbacks run this type of a league, especially only in half PPR. It's all about quarterbacks now. But you have all that dynasty value stored in something that doesn't help your lineup start 10.
Right.
So you're almost leaning into the fact that it's dynasty value that's not helping your lineup by going older and crustier. Diggs, Kelce. Diggs, to your point, I don't even care if it's half PPR, no PPR, which I don't play in any of them, but that doesn't matter because he's a top 12 dynasty asset, and points per game wise, he's elite. So,
yeah,
difference maker at that position. Half point tight end premium or not, small enough tight end premium where I'm not going to buy anyone else other than Kelce or Andrews. But Kelce in this format, forget about the flex consideration. This is just a Kelce hammer. So you go get a hammer at receiver, which you didn't have. You go get a hammer at tight end, which you didn't have. I think the crazy part here is we both talk about how much we hate Jimmy G. And then this is one that he's not a guaranteed quarterback 3 for the rest of the year. But at least in the conversation of the trade, you can say to yourself, Jimmy G, I don't want him in any capacity in lineup start 10 other than if something injury happens, a bye week, I have something for now. Like this is not even, this is like a fluid thing, but for now you get something back there. Cooks is probably a speculative start in an injury. He goes to back end depth at the receiver position, but this is one I think that might be a struggle for some people that think too much in just dynasty values and like youth movement. But if you're trying to win, this is one of those moves where, like, I'll be honest, man, I can't be more excited to make a move like this in a contending team.
So this is also one of those too. Like I sent away, my initial offer was Bryce Young, right? Because the third quarterback thing, Chig Okonkwo for Kelce, Diggs, and then I wanted that third quarterback, right? And I got it's Jimmy G. But one of the other things is I got Aiden O'Connell sitting on a taxi squad. So it's even like if Jimmy G does bad, like I got
the Raiders QB.
Like hopefully it could be Brian Hoyer, but he's also sitting on waivers, so I would have the opportunity to spend a shit ton to go get Brian Hoyer.
Unload the clip. But you could do it, right?
Thomas sends me back a counter offer that's my 25 first for, you can have Travis Kelce, you can have Garoppolo, you can have Diggs. Give me Bryce Young in your 25 first. And I'm going, well, fuck, like I'm already leveraged for 24. Who gives a shit? Let's leverage for 25 while we're at it. Like if this is what it really takes to get a hammer tight end in Travis Kelce, a good wide receiver, elite tier wide receiver one like Stephon Diggs, and then like that security a little bit of my third quarterback, like this makes sense for me. When I send it to you and I go, what do you think, and lay out all the details, the thought also pops into my mind is, can I pull the ATM? Like, can I pull the ATM?
60% of the time, it works.
I think I
every
sent you
time.
that gift right after the fact, but
yep.
So I sent it back, just adding in Brandon Cooks. Like Brandon Cooks probably is an asset that Thomas really gives a shit about on a rebuild. Like he would like to get him off and start 10. It's kind of borderline, but maybe I can start him 1 week if I have to, through injuries or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it gets accepted, and that's when I send you the GIF in the DMs. Like 60% of the time, it works every time.
Well, I mean, it's just amazing that, like, that last part to me is so amazing that it's been probably coming up on a year here before you know it, that people have been kind of like, oh, that's not going to work. It's going to ruin trade negotiations. Right. And like how many times have we talked about it on air? And you still get it done in leagues that people know you make content. So even if you know, it's one of those, like, even if you know it's coming, doesn't mean you're not going to say no. Like,
let me ask you too, because every time one of these trades goes down, like you get all these, the trade chirpers,
the peanut gallery, the talking heads,
the fucking peanut gallery. And listen, from my standpoint, like if I was Tom in this standpoint, like I know my team's dog shit. I'm in dead last place. Travis Kelce and Stephon Diggs aren't doing shit for me. I barely have a quarterback room as it is. Like, are you taking Bryce Young into 25 first and sending away this in return? Like, I know you don't give a shit about Jimmy G or Brandon Cooks, but are you sending away Kelce, Stephon Diggs for Bryce Young into 25 first?
I'm moving Kelce and Diggs. I think here on the rebuild side, out of principle, I might try to get you to give me a third or a second or something. But at the same time, like, what are you trying to do here? Realistically, right? One of the hardest parts about moving Kelce is getting back the value that he's worth to the contender. So if you just told me 1 for 1, I'm getting Bryce Young, like, I feel like I'm actually getting back Kelce's price.
Yeah.
The problem, I think, then becomes if I do that, I don't think a 25 first is enough for Diggs. So that's where I might want to add something more. But then again, okay, you are getting enough back for Kelce. I think most times you're not quite getting Bryce Young for Kelce 1 for 1. So that's where I think this trade overall is like about right. Again, I think I might have tried to squeeze a little more out of you, but you were doing the same on the other end. I think the win for you, to me, is little bits and pieces of like Jimmy G and Brandon Cooks in reality of a process play don't mean enough to him to fight back, and you got them. Where there's just a little bit of edge on your side for that purpose. But if you told me this is just Kelce and Diggs for Bryce Young on a 25 first, it's about fucking right, man.
I get you too.
It's about right.
At some point, like I said, I always kind of want to tax the other person so I feel better about it. But also that thing always plays into the back of my mind, especially in the lineup league, is like, just get these fucking points off my roster so I can lock up Caleb or I can lock up Drake May with my pick. Like,
Right.
I do not want to be the 103. I do not want to be the 104 possibly. Like, I want to be one of the one or two, and I want to be the one holding the hammer at the end of the year, because that's going to mean a fuck ton more than whether I could extract an extra second out of somebody's ass.
Well, and that's one of the parts, though, that actually for me is where I'm like, man, I need you to pay something for Cooks and Jimmy G, because, okay, he's at least taking the process of, like, let me bet against this team that's getting really good right now, at least a year down the road.
Right.
But I'm like, man, if I'm sending – I don't know what your team looks like, Mike, but I know how you play. If I know how your team probably looks on this, I'm sending you Kelce, Diggs. Like, bro, this 25 first is probably looking pretty damn late. So, like,
dude, this is
give
one
me,
of the
you're
worst.
gonna have to give me something else to, like, help me get there.
This is another one of, like, why I just love best ball so much and I can't stand fucking lineup, because, like, I had a good team going in. My team's even better now, acquiring Travis Kelce and Stephon Diggs, and I still took a fucking third straight L this week. It's like my team's fucking 0-3.
Whoever the fuck's like, where's that 24 first? Because that was the one I want, right?
Whoever's owning my 24 first in that Justin Herbert trade's feeling real good right now, because this fucking squad just cannot do shit.
All right, Mike, let's go to this one. Fantasy Clown. Wow. 12 team Superflex PPR lineup, start 9, Paramount Dynasty.
Oh, this
Tua
is why you QB hoard,
for
folks.
Chase.
I love Tua to death, man. I love him to death. This is why you QB hoard. This is why you give yourself the flexibility of having multiple QBs where you're okay getting rid of one and not getting a quarterback back, because it puts you into a different category.
Now, if you are quarterback hoarding, before I pull up Warp, because I think the first thing I'm going to do here on a trade like this is actually pull up Warp, because that's one of the things I want to see too. But if you, in theory, before we get to that point, if you have a quarterback hoard going, how much higher can you shoot 1-for-1 at a position that isn't quarterback than Chase?
I don't know if you could get any higher.
I mean, there's one spot. There's a singular spot.
You could definitely try to go up to Justin Jefferson if you want, but
you got to be sending back typically an elite quarterback to do that, though, right? Like,
I wish you the best of luck.
Let's take a peek here, though. Warp. All right, Mike. This is an IDP league too, so we got lines everywhere.
Man,
you know what? I'm trying to click this, and I realize this is just a screenshot. So really hard to get through this. Okay, this is almost going to be unintelligible is the word that I would use, but. If you really focus on that heavy red line, right? Look where that is, Mike. Now look at the receiver line, and it's basically the high-end asset here all the way. So if you're looking at 18, it's kind of trending ahead. 12, they're about even. It's still a little ahead at receiver. But look at what an elite receiver matters in this format. Now, we kind of see this all the time right now through 3 weeks. The quarterbacks aren't trending as high as they've done in the past because it's only 3 weeks of data, but to me, Mike, I would have to see a line that the quarterback is just dwarfing everything else to where I'm not even like I'm not even considering this in a scenario where it's like they're dwarfing. But even then, Mike, how do you not? Like, I don't know if there's a scenario where you say if I have a quarterback hoard, I'm not taking one of the top fantasy receivers in the game for a single quarterback that I'm hoarding that I can get rid of.
Correct. I'm with you. I'm with you too, and his other quarterback on his roster is Patrick Mahomes. You know,
pretty good.
Yeah, tough to get better than that. Right, he's got Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, and Sam Howell. Good enough.
Yep.
Good enough.
I'll take. I'll play the variance at Superflex and take this Jamar Chase as much as I love Tua, and you know we both love Tua, but.
Oh man, who is the other guy? WSC Panther. I got to just look at his roster too while I got it pulled up here. Like, how bad was your quarterback room? How bad was that?
Mike, you know how crazy it'd be if you were in a startup in the offseason and you took Tua ahead of Chase?
Ooh.
People would be laughing at you like crazy.
All right, so the guy had no quarterbacks.
Literally zero?
All I see on the roster right now is Tua. Superflex spot, right now, currently, he's got Jalen Waddle in there, and there's not another.
He doesn't have like some crusty turd like a Dobbs or something like that, man. Holy crap!
Nope. No, sir. Tyson Badgett.
Maybe he made a trade after this or something, because that's just insane. Like, how do you in a Superflex not have a single one? You got to at least have the quarterback spot filled, right? Like, I don't know, whatever.
You would think so.
I guess if you had 0 though, that's when you're like, all right, give me Tua for Chase. I don't think that's even that close, really, man. There's very few amount of times where warp is like so egregiously to the quarterback where I'm not taking that trade.
Love it.
Mr. Shy Guy Mike, Rashee Rice in a second, or Kyren Williams going to T-Rock. So setting wise, this is definitely a warp discussion. 12-team Superflex PPR, half point tight end premium, lineup start 10, the tap room. Mike, here's a conversation we were having. Now, this one does feel a little steep. Yeah. But Rashee Rice, right? And in this format, lineup start 10, he's feeling fringy to me, man. Like, I know you can say he had 7 targets. He's going to have some games where he gets some targets, but he's feeling very fringy as far as like a lineup consideration for me to feel like I'm going to play Rashee Rice, right?
Yeah, understandable. Start 10 lineup league makes it much tougher, like sell for me on Rashee Rice, even though like I literally was just in the situation before we hit record, and it was tough for me. It was tough for me to let him go. Adam, if you told me Rashee Rice for Kyren Williams, though, in this format, I would take Kyren Williams every day of the week.
Not close.
Right. You throw that second in, though. Listen, I'm not crazy, though. I might take the chance on, like, I know he feels fringy, Rashee Rice, but you add a second onto it, I'm going, enjoy your Kyren Williams. Good luck to you.
So what's interesting about this, we just had on 4D yesterday, not the trade show, the podcast. T-Rock talking about a lot of his teams, the way he's built them. I think he's getting a little antsy as far as like actually getting running backs that are scoring points, because it's built the right way, right? He's got receivers, quarterbacks, picks, but the running back rooms are so thin. Even with any running back on a 53, if you don't have the right ones, you're just like, and you're putting whoever the hell in there. If you don't have Zach Moss, if you don't have the guys that fill in Jerome Fords, like you're putting in just junk at running back, right? That's where I think one of these type of trades gets made. Now, what's interesting about this trade to me, I got to pull up the warp for this. So this is the tap room. All right, let's pull this up for a second. Here's what's interesting about the running back, Mike. Forget about the receiver for a second, because the receiver is just the position here.
Right.
Running back, Mike, is ahead of quarterback the entire time. Now, granted, this is only for 3 weeks, so it could look different, but like Kyren Williams for me in this league, at least looking at this chart, I'll say this is an overpay. Like, I'll admit that. This is more than I would ever want to pay for Kyren Williams. And this is a guy that was like, out on Kyren completely to like, all right, I got to be real. He's got the workload and nothing's in his way. The thing is, if you're Mr. Shy Guy for me, like the reason I would take this trade is because now I'm just looking to flip Rashee Rice to somebody else, and I'm looking at the profit I collect, right? If you tell me a second and Kyren are close, I probably lean Kyren in this format. But then if I can have Rashee Rice as the trade piece, which if I can flip, and let's say I get 2/3, or I can find another second somewhere, that's where the edge is. The problem for me is, if you're Mr. Shy Guy at least, you got to at least have the understanding and the foresight to think, do I really want to bet on Rashee Rice, or would I rather just try to flip? That's where I'm taking that trade and trying to flip it, and understanding I'm getting off of Kyren, I'm getting a second, which is appropriate, and then I'm trying to profit off of Rashee Rice. That's my play.
Let me drop just one nugget, though. I just want people to think about it, and we're still early in the season.
Go ahead.
Just think about it. Like, I am interested in Kyren Williams just because of the usage, and I'm looking long-term. Adam, like I'm looking throughout this season at least. That's kind of what I'm projecting.
Long term for the year, yes. Right. I agree with that. Yep.
If I just go and look at a warp though, right? I just look at the adjusted warp table, southharmonff.com. Go check that out. Boom. Yep. Look at that plug. Adam, I'm looking at it for this league. Kyren Williams comes in as RB 37 in a warp because he's only had 1 week where he's actually met the starter threshold, and that was this last week.
And he wasn't good. Sure.
And he wasn't good. Coincidentally, though, Cam Akers, former Los Angeles Rams running back, has 1 week, which would have been week 1 because nobody started him, obviously, when he was inactive. Nobody started him this week when he's traded to the Vikings and we knew.
I mean, I might as well have started him when he was inactive. I ended up putting someone else in there, but they didn't play, and it was the same difference.
As far as AWARP goes, though, Cam Akers actually doubled up Kyren Williams, right?
Right,
doubled them up
because week 1, 22 carries and 29 yards, but got in the end zone.
He actually did.
Relative to the position was okay.
It's nuts just when you think about it like that because of the 1 game sample size. Cam Akers' 1 game where he was actually an AWARP viable starting running back is better than Kyren Williams' 1 week AWARP starting running back week. I thought it was just a weird thing to point out when I saw the list, and I'm going, wait a goddamn minute here. Cam Akers is ahead.
But to the point, though, that you're making here, I think this is where, though, that information for me at least needs – like I agree with the information, but it needs to have bigger sample size for this to even be a discussion because, okay, you didn't buy Kyren during those first 2 weeks when you're playing him, right? And to your point, you don't get to actualize any warp data from week 1 and week 2 when he had great weeks. Now, to your next point, like week 3 was not as good. But in the scenario that T-Rock's in, the whole idea with this running back position is filling in spot starts that are like, okay, I know weekly I'm going to have Kyren have a dud. And I actually don't even give a shit about that. But if I just get 3 weeks of Kyren's week 1 or week 2, it's found money given my structure, right? Because
gotcha.
Like I don't need to have him weekly carrying my team. That's the whole idea with this is that I'm trying to fit him into my lineup where I don't have any other starters that mess with him. So it's just weekly. And I'm not expecting him to destroy it, but when he does, that's why I win. Because he is a difference maker at the position for 3 weeks, and the rest of my team's already that damn good. So
do we think he's roster constructed correctly?
I think, but let's do a serious dive because let's find out.
I'm just curious, right? Because if you're spending a second round,
we have the tools. Let's pull it up.
Yeah, if we're spending a second round pick on a fringe running back, when
I don't think he's fringe. I do think though the problem is timing because we don't have a guarantee that Kyren Williams is this for the rest of the year. That's the problem. I think right now he's fine, but Mike, to your point, if it's week 8 and Kyren Williams is not a lineup discussion weekly, or is anyone shocked? Nah.
Listen, I threw the challenge flag, but the ruling on the field is T-Rock is correct.
Okay, so there you go. And
Kyren Williams is a starting running back for his squad.
I am perfectly fine doing this in scenarios that he has like that. So give me his team and for everyone else listening so that they understand too.
His quarterbacks, Geno, Lamar Jackson, Russ.
Beautiful.
Yep. Running backs. This is why I say he's roster constructed correctly because he doesn't have a lot of these other lineup decisions to make a running back, right? Like
and
your
there's
lineup
no dynasty
decisions,
value probably tied up. Yep.
You're starting Kyren Williams. You're starting Kyren Williams.
Beautiful.
Bijan Robinson, great hero RB.
So you got a hero or a hammer RB. Love it.
His RB2 is Kyren Williams. Josh Kelly, we know what that's like. Jaleel McLaughlin.
Now, but see, the Josh Kelly thing though it's the right process. It's just you didn't hit the lottery. Player. You hit the fucking dumpster.
And nobody else to really talk about. That's it.
So this is actually a trade, even with the timing right now, Mike, I would make this because of that.
I get you. Wide receivers, Devontae, Cortland Sutton, Puka, Jacoby Myers, Jaden Reed, Kendrick Bourne, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Aiyuk. Like those are his wide receivers.
So Aiyuk's wide receiver 2, Devontae's receiver 1. Lineup start 10. You want to probably start 4 to 5.
Right.
He's. I would say the other thing with this team now, the construction's right. I do think he needs another top 20-ish receiver. But to your point, the way he's constructed it's the right way. Yep.
I just wanted to make sure, especially considering I'm not saying like the rest of his roster, but if I were to look at your running backs and you're rocking Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, like these kind of guys, and you're spending a second to go get a guy like Kyren who may or may not be plugged into your lineup on a weekly basis.
That's the big key,
Don't do it.
That's the big key. If you make this trade where you're a little overpaying in value, that's fine. Yes. If you're saying to yourself, until the wheels fall off, Kyren is my RB2.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
I actually agree with that point completely. That's where I would be more okay with this because while the value's a little high, it's a little high, but that's what you needed to do on this team because look at how you rostered it, right? Like you're good.
He's plugging this guy
this
in every single week with no question mark, as long as he's healthy and active.
I would like to know also what's his liquidity after this. That's the only last piece I'll have.
Oh, for sure. We're
Do you
going to have
have
to
it?
get that. No.
Oh, damn it. All right. Well, T-Rock, you passed 90% of the test.
I have a tool I can use to do that, but we're going to make ours better.
Bet. 12-team, 2-quarterback, PPR, best ball start 16. If you don't know by now, shitheads, it's South Harmon Dynasty Degens. That's the only league that gets you this insane. And yes, that's me that did it. All right, Mike, this is a wild one.
It's ridiculous.
T. Higgins, a 24 and a 25 first from Redwoods, as well as his 24 second. He's receiving Ridley, Stevenson, Ford, and then Purdy. All right, Mike.
Fair enough.
2-quarterback now. We can dunk on Purdy all we want, but we just talked about what did Sonny D call him?
Johnny Ringo.
Johnny Ringo. There you go.
Johnny Ringo.
Johnny Ringo's going for 2/3 in the right time. I mean,
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Purdy is in a 2-quarterback league. I don't love it. Like, I'd rather tier down, but I'll have some Purdy in my 2 QB leagues. Like,
I don't give a fuck.
Well, I would rather tier down or get off of him, but my point is I'd rather have him than no quarterback.
I shouldn't say that.
There you go.
In a start 16 best ball league, I don't give a fuck.
Well, we can get to warp in a second. Now, the one thing about it is
I got 15 other chances to make up.
But here's the difference, though. All right, so let before we digest the whole trade, because let's just do this now. We'll do the warp, all right? So let's do the warp just to give everybody an idea of what we're talking about. I hope we have it here anyway.
We'll find it.
Here it is. All right. Boom. True warp for South Harmon Dynasty Degenerates. Okay, so take a look at this graph, and this is going to be one of the very few times, to Mike's point. This red line, now it's early in the season. All right, so I think that we'll see it get higher. But right now, you're looking at this thing being almost a spitting mirror image of the fucking tight end line, which is insane to even think about. Like, just think for a second, though, okay? This is warp per game. You're looking at, man, 0.4 is the highest end quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins, Patrick Mahomes right now, right?
Yep.
Running back 1, given the scoring format, because there's the points per carry and stuff in that, it's almost a 0.8. Double. And the reason is, just think about the roster, okay? And this is one of the things we talk about with like a lineup start 9, lineup start 8, lineup start 10. When it's Superflex, you have 2 quarterbacks, okay? So you have now, let's use 9, for example, for the sake of argument. There's 7 different players that are skill players that are compared to the 2 Superflex and quarterback spot. Because those ones are typically going to score more points than anyone else, if you stack that up there, you only have 7 spots to catch up to the winnings that you have at these 2 elite spots. Mike, start 16 in best ball. If you have Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, while dope as that is, I have 14 spots where I can dumpster fill every piece of skill player life in the world to catch up to you. Now insert Brock Purdy. I can beat you. I can beat Brock Purdy with a skill player that's running the football on a weekly basis. Give me 3 of those Jags. You know?
Yeah, and he's like 16 on this graph.
Correct. So it's, by the way, 16 on this graph is 0.175-ish, right? You see it right there between 12 and 18. It's under 2.
0.181. I got it pulled up right here. I give you the exact number. 0.181.
That's a pretty good guess. 1.75.
It's not too bad, man. You're a pretty good reader.
It's eyeballing. I look at a lot of these warp graphs. Anyway, okay, Mike, we've looked at warp now. People are probably sick of it. I don't care. You're going to see warp for the rest of your life. All right. Let's talk about the trade now that we see warp and we got it out there. So, T. Higgins or Calvin Ridley? It's T. Higgins, correct?
Yes.
What's the difference? A second? Like in best ball, I would take Ridley in a second over T.
Yeah, I think you're right, especially in the start 16.
Start
like
16, all of a sudden, it's hugely about the pieces.
You're trying to really stack depth.
All right, but so in my case, I actually won't even quite give you the. I'm trying to think how we break this down. All right, Stevenson or first in this format? That's an easy Stevenson, right?
T for Ridley and a Ford, and I would take Ridley in the Ford, even though I don't really like Jerome Ford.
Fair enough. I would agree. I would definitely take. Because it's a second piece, I would send a second for Ford and a start 16. Best ball.
A 24 first for Ramondre. I will take Ramondre on that side.
I was gonna say I would take Ramondre too.
Purdy
now,
for the
25 first or Purdy is where I'll definitely take the first.
And don't forget that second's also floating in there.
Okay, but now here's the question. Would you pay in a start 16 a first and a second for Ramondre?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Would you pay a first and a third for Ramondre?
No.
So it's a first and then you're done, like no matter what.
Yeah.
That's
start
top dollar.
16.
Oh, I get you. I'm asking. I'm just asking. You know, as someone once said, I'm just asking the question. All right. So what we're basically saying right now that Redwoods wins until the first comes into play for Purdy, 25 first for Purdy, and then the second becomes another extra piece.
He just donated the second.
Now in start 16, one thing you cannot do, period, is donate a second.
You need every one of them.
Because you can try to buy something else later. But, Mike, I would tell you this. If you take the second out, I could get behind the deal a little more. Like, I'm not paying a first for Purdy, but the winnings at the other position, I could make the case. I do agree with you, though, that second makes it like, I'm good, man. I already didn't like getting Purdy in this deal, but now that second makes me really pucker up, buddy. Forget you. I'm good. One of the things, though, that Redwoods does have is he's getting 4 pieces in his lineup. So go win that thing, buddy. That's what you're going to need to do at this point.
I love when people take, like, far worse trades than, like, what I was offering them. Which is insane.
God damn it! I knew there was an ulterior motive. This is a guy.
I'm just saying.
I knew it. I just knew the way that Mike's talking about this. Because I agree with him. I just think he's a little more agitated at the deal than me. And what does that mean? That means he had an offer out there, guys. Everybody listening, he had an offer out there. So let's hear it. Go ahead.
Well, I just mean I love when they take far worse offers.
I want to hear for everyone else so we can make a unbiased decision on the other offer.
You and I were negotiating similar. I mean, really, in best ball start 16, what's the difference between Josh Dobbs and a Brock Purdy, right? They're giving you a similar true warp for game.
Okay, now hold on. In this format, in a start 16, not that much. Certain other formats, maybe you could argue more, but in this 100%? Format, like I'll take the cheaper option and just let you have the quarterbacks or the Superflex win, right? Like I'll lose that.
One of them at best, I'm asking for like a 3rd round pick and value back. It's a tough sell for people, but this
start
one
16,
out here,
I'm good because I'd rather have that third go to. Give me a guy that I can buy for a third, Mike. Kendrick Bourne, anything. Like I'm good. I'll take that player.
Right.
In Josh Dobbs.
It's just what it is. I mean, I just think it's funny. Like when we see it go through, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not here to run your team.
Give me the offer out there that you had negotiated.
I don't know. I got so many out there too, and we got.
All right. Well, then never mind. I thought you had a specific like.
No. I just know there was deals out there involving, because I was in negotiations with you. Kind of the similar thing I was sending you, where it was like.
I'm wrong then. I thought you had a deal lined up with Redwoods that was like in principle similar, and you got beat out by this offer, and you're just like, because you did this already once on the trade show with this league. Right. You're like, why did you send the first for Mac Jones in this league? Right. That was the offer. I remember that. All right. So that wasn't the case. By the way, if you can see here, 6 minutes has passed. It's a fair amount of time. It should honestly be more than 4 people, but you see one of the icons is McNutted. I'm going to guess he was first to the party. God damn it, who took this offer?
What the fuck is this?
All right.
Speaking of Josh Dobbs.
Wow. That's like a magic trick. Oh, it's magic.
Right.
14 team Superflex PPR. Lineup start 9 offense and 9 defense. So IDP action. Not your dad's FF. All right, let's Mike, I'll be honest, this is very cheap. Now, I know IDP comes into it, so the picks go up the board a little more. Like, let's acknowledge that fourth becomes probably more of a third. Now, at the same time, Mike, let's also acknowledge this isn't one of these probably juice crazy scoring IDP ones where the draft picks go way up the board like in ours, where half the first round is IDP players. That's probably not the case here. Pull up Warp. Let's pull it up.
Yeah, I got you.
All right, I got it right here too. Ooh, so linebacker's up there, but is that it?
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, that's not making the jump of the picks that much, man. It's really not. Because you're also setting your lineup here too.
Quarterback's actually like one of the
premier
bottom 3 positions.
Quarterbacks? Oh, well, difference is it's high early. Mm-hmm. But when you get to Dobbs range, it's not.
No one cares.
It's very much in line with running back, and then it's well ahead of D-line and tight end, which if you don't play IDP, D-line, one of the things Mike did is make the defensive ends have a great value, but D-lines overall are just not that valuable in IDP.
I almost got my ass kicked this last week in shit IDP. I'm not going to say ass kicked. I was the top scoring team in the league, but I almost lost that thing on the Monday night game.
Ass kicked would be you almost took an L, but it was a last minute thing.
I was petrified.
Okay, Mike. What's the judge here? What's the call on this? Can you tell us anything about his team as well?
I'm looking at it like I don't mind. On the surface, the price is pretty cheap for a quarterback, especially a guy that you're going to use as like a QB3 option. That's fine. In a lineup league, that's fine. My only hesitation is, like, especially these linebacker line, and I don't know all the intricacies of the league, but at least for A-Warp, for starting these guys, like, the 4th and 5th round picks might actually make a difference. Now, Adam, I don't think it's like shit IDP, not because it's not juice, but you also think about it like that's a best ball league.
Totally changes everything. This is a lineup, right?
Well, we're starting how many people on offense and defense? So when you look at that 4th and 5th round, there's a lot of offensive guys there in a best ball league where you're like, shit, this is the second round, right? The third
round becomes like the 4th, and the 4th round becomes like the 5th.
Everything almost gets pushed up one round, which in
best ball,
I don't think is the case here, because there's going to be a lot of guys here that even if those offensive players fell in a start 9 offense, you still shouldn't be starting them or have a lot of consideration for them. So I think overall,
that's the biggest case I was just going to make is that
I just paid this for Dobbs. For Dobbs, and you can have it.
I'm in because not only do I have to either make these picks or flip out of them, which again, not knowing the specifics of the league also. I don't know the markets of this. Like, I don't know what the hell this market is. What can I get a 4th and a 5th to buy in this league? I don't know that, frankly.
Right.
The hesitation would be, to your point, like, is it actually helping my lineup? Probably not that much. Maybe a little bit. Like, it's cheap enough to where I'm okay. The selling point for me is that, okay, we're starting 18 people. But, Mike, in shit IDP, I can basically – dude, you could make that 80 people. You could make it 80 roster spots, 100, and I want all of them and every shot I can get on defense to get in my lineup. I got to pick 9 defensive players, man. How many people do I care about in a 4th or 5th round ever making my lineup on either side of the ball here? I'm probably good.
The only caveat I would say with the A-Warp, especially with this linebacker graph, right? Like in the range of A-Warp, you're talking like linebacker 40. Like, is there a possibility you could get a linebacker 40 type for a 4th or a 5th round pick in a rookie draft? Maybe. But I don't know that. I don't know exactly how that would play out. But
it's not just that, though, because I get you. The only problem also would be, like, how many linebackers can you start in this league? It's 9 defensive players. What if you're only starting 2? Like, you maybe never even play them even if you get one. Like, like that's the other problem. So I'll take the Dobbs side here.
I like it.
I'll admit this is a tough one for me to grade because I don't know enough about the dynamics of the league. I also don't know. I see Warp here, but I don't know like is there some juice scoring that make me say, even though this Warp graph through 3 weeks looks like this, that maybe there's some defensive players later I'd like to have as a gem.
I feel you.
That'd be my only exception, but I'm taking Dobbs here.
I think we put a rule on the show. Unless it's a shit IDP 101 or 101 type league, we don't do IDP trades.
I like what Blitz just did, though. I'll tell you, I'll do all the IDPs you want in best ball. Line up like y'all got that one. Is that? I mean, I'll grade them. I don't have enough understanding. Okay, Mike, let's get off of warp.
We got to put our foot down somewhere. All right.
Well,
Blitz is running amok.
Blitz, I'm happy, man. Just a little easy on the IDP. All right, Mike. This one was talked about on the comments of my video I just dropped a couple weeks ago. So I like this. The Keta Kid is receiving Jacoby Myers and a 24 third and sending away David Montgomery. Settings are a 12-team Superflex PPR lineup, start 10. The league is the League of Champions. Mike, I really like this.
Well, shit. David Montgomery or Jacoby Myers, who would you rather have? I know where my head is. This isn't close.
I could make a conversation about it, but I want Myers.
Same.
I'm going to pull up Warp just to see. The only way you're going to get me to say different is if this would have to look different. I just pulled it up, and the blue is ahead of the blue is ahead of the green. If this was monumentally flipped, maybe I'll take D-Mont here, right? If you're telling me like the Jacoby Myers range is worthless and Warp, this is honestly now this is theft. We're looking at Warp, Mike. Because 1 for 1, I want Myers, and this third now, if I can go buy a spot start, Mike, you tell me I can't go buy a Zach Moss when it matters.
You definitely could.
I could at least attach a fourth or a third or something to get that at worst case scenario. Like you can go buy something like that when you need to. So
theft. I'll take Myers in the third all day. Free third.
I was gonna say I see one heart, but let me just go ahead and 1, 2. There's 3 hearts on that all of a sudden. The Keta Kid. That's a well done trade, man. I like that.
The third should be on the top side, and you should probably have a couple of them. How about that?
Let me ask you this: in this settings with that Warp, would you take Monty in the third here?
Maybe
if in the certain construction, like if you had enough receivers and you could afford to get off of Myers, that's the only case I'd agree.
And I'm plugging Monty in as a running back right off the bat. I'm not doing
Look
this
at T-Rock's
lineup
team.
decision.
Go to T-Rock's team. You needed Monty, right? You needed that. Mm-hmm. If I'm getting the third back too, and now I can maybe add that third to something else down the road and add to this running back depth, I can get behind it. As constructed with that Warp is stupidity. All right, Mike, let's get into the next one here. We got 7 Goatrings back on the trade show. Holy shit, I almost passed this trade because feels like it's been that long. All right, 12-team Superflex PPR lineup, start 11, League of Douchebags. I'll be honest, Mike, a lot of 7 Goatrings on the trade show over the years. I've never seen WAS 1, 2, 2, 4. Derrick Henry, DeAndre Swift, Jahan Dotson, Treylon Burks going to Goatrings. He's sending away J-Mo Breece in a second. 12-team Superflex, lineup start 12. What's that?
New booty.
New booty. I found you, Miss New Booty.
I like this one.
What do you think, Mike? Go ahead. Break it down.
I think if I was competing, you can make a case for, let's say, Swift and Burks for Breece Hall. I'm good with that. I mean, as much as I love Breece and like I want to talk about his long-term dynasty value, it's the same thing though. Like
I would go.
The reality is Swift scoring more fucking points than Breece Hall is, and I would go a wide receiver with some dynasty value in return.
I would agree if you told me it was Swift and Dotson for Breece in this format.
There you go. Swift and Dotson for Breece.
You give me Dotson and Swift, I'll take Breece. I'll take that side over Breece in lineup 11. Yep.
So pick one of the other ones.
I'll take
Burks or Henry.
Am I crazy to take Treylon over J-Mo straight up?
Nope. I would definitely take Treylon over J-Mo straight up.
Personally. So,
and then the second or Derrick Henry. And much as we're worried about Derrick Henry, I will listen. I'm gonna pay a fucking second for Kyren Williams. You best believe I'm paying a fucking second for Derrick Henry.
Now, the one thing I think I have to mention here is this is where I think for people that if it's a lineup start 9, our association of like Swift and Dotson for Breece might be different.
because those receivers are more junk. But it also makes JMO more junk in that format too. So it really becomes down. You can't take one of those receivers in JMO and you just go piss off with them.
Well, because then I would say, like, you almost, for me, I'd remove the fluff, and then I would ask you, would you rather have Breece or Swift and Henry in a lineup start 9?
I might go Swift and Henry.
You could at least make the case, though, right? Because now, the reason I wanted to walk through that is, like, people are going to be like, I'll take Breece over Dotson and Swift. In a lineup shallow, like 9, maybe. In 11, all of a sudden, 11, I think, is what's interesting about this. Like, we've had this weird thing going on when Blitz sends me the trades. There's certain words that get these white on them, right? And I don't know why the hell this happens, but the interesting part is it's on the right words here. Lineup start 11 is just enough where Dotson and Burks mean something to me, where in lineup start 9, I really would be totally okay getting off of them completely.
Hey, man, 7 goat rings back to getting rings. I think when we last left him off, he was down to 3 goat rings.
I think he was like 1 or 2, so we'll give him to 3.
We'll put him at 3 goat rings?
I think 3 is fair, right? Like,
okay.
I'll give him at least 1, if not 2 for here.
Welcome back to multiple goat rings.
I like this, you know. He's like the Travis Kelce after this year of goat rings, you know. All right, 12-team Superflex, Mike. Full PPR, half-point tight end premium. It's a lineup start 10. The boys. By the way, we didn't need Warp for that last trade, in case you were wondering. I'm good. All right, Mike. Philly Wiz Without. By the way, loving the recovered Ridley truther and his deals. All right, Mike. This one is spicy here. The clogger running backs are, I'm not even going to call them that. These are the cyclable running backs that can give you serious ability to contend if you need running back spot starts.
I love the Wile Peyote, instead of Wile Coyote.
The Wile Peyote. It's well done. These are good team names, man.
Oh, that's not too bad. That's not too bad at all.
Well, here's the question for me. Because lineup start 10, full PPR. Yeah, I understand that now the running backs in this range are more, let me get them off, especially if you're rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of them, though, for a single first?
A little tougher to digest, right?
I didn't say no. I gave the.
I get it. It's
I gave the. I want to know.
We know from a Warp standpoint, though, it's it's PPR, half tight.
It's full PPR, half tight end premium. So that's where the running backs become a little more like I definitely want to sell in a rebuild
because format. I don't really want to be starting a running back in a flex spot if I don't have to. And I assume he didn't have 0 RBs to start with, right?
I mean, let me give you a Warp.
Wide receivers, of course.
Now, the one interesting part is that running backs run with the quarterbacks in a Superflex league. So it's also, there's something there. It's either one of 2 things, Mike. The negatives for quarterbacks, or there's another part of the scoring system that makes the running backs better. There's something.
Gotta be.
Has to be.
Or the quarterbacks are, kind of like I was talking about on the
4-point per passing touchdown,
and they've been almost all universally quarterbacks have been fucking god awful to start.
That's true. We're looking at 3 weeks. There you go. This could look a lot different by week 8. Yep.
They've been fucking horrible, man. We've had like one guy go over 30 fantasy points in a standard 4-point passing touchdown league. All
right, so this is actually probably not the best graph to look at, but I get you. The red line could get higher. So let's just for the sake of argument though say running backs are solid, but you want to get off of them in a rebuild. So the question now becomes, would you get off of 3 really good potential spot start running backs? I mean, Swift I don't even think is a spot start anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Kyren probably isn't a spot start. Jerome Ford I'm still going to argue is a spot start.
If I'm taking, I want him off my fucking team.
But are you taking the 25 first from the Wile Peyote is the question.
If I have the context of what their team actually looks like and where they're at.
That was question 2. What do you know? What do we got?
Yes.
Is it that big? All right. Yeah. So you're telling me this is the first worth grabbing too.
When I look at a team in a start 10, and your quarterbacks are Sam Howell and Desmond Ridder.
Oh, no.
And nobody else.
Oh, that's it? Two quarterbacks?
And I'm assuming if I can't get your 24 first, it's because you've already leveraged that.
Is that assumption actually true?
I have no idea.
All right. Go ahead. I'll continue.
But I would say if that's the case, your 25 first is looking mighty juicy. And if I'm Philly Whiz without right now, I go,
no onions.
I'll push it out a year. That's fine. I'm not competing. I don't give a shit. I would like to get these players off my team to make my own 24 pick a little bit better anyways. By all means, I'll take the delayed gratification, and I will take your 25 pick, and you can have Swift and Ford and Kyren Williams, because you're inevitably going to fail. If not this year, it definitely will be next year.
I will admit, if this is a team worth betting against, like, sign me the hell up, dude. Give me this. I want this Wile Peyote chance of a pick.
Well, I can tell you that.
Can I tell you this too?
Kyren, Swift, and Jerome Ford all immediately went into Wile Peyote's lineup.
Can I tell you not just that, Mike? On a certain website, Wile Peyote is the bottom of the bottom.
So, yes.
Starter rank is 5. Now, to give you that context, like, there's
McCaffrey,
when you add all these in, McCaffrey, right? There's
Tony Pollard, Dallas Goedert.
Quarterback rank 12. Running back rank 1. So I like running back rank 1 if I'm like a strong contender, like the rest of my team's built well. But you know what that also means, Mike? There is so much to bet against. Like, you know how many times I can sit here without a crystal ball and tell you that we could look at the end of the year and there may not be a ton of attrition at the running back position, but I can also tell you there's a very good chance that we lose a lot of good men out there. All right? I mean, but like at the running back position, come on, man. There's a lot of good men out there. To trades, unruly fans, I don't want to talk about it.
Free agency. Love it.
Damn it, I love this. But Mike, everything to bet on, wide receiver rank 10, quarterback rank 12.
Yeah,
no draft capital now. Draft rank 12. Yeah, I'll be honest. This is where I will make the exception and say for sure I'll take the 25 first. Give me the chance of that. Yeah. Here's the problem. If this is not this type of a trade, though, I just want to talk about this in context for outside of this trade. Let's say this is more of a late. I won't do this. Just because I think Swift is right now. I understand the injury concern. I understand, if he was to get hurt again, no one will be shocked and his value could go to plummet to damn near nothing again. But, Mike, if he stays healthy for even 2 or 3 more weeks at this usage, oh, buddy. We're talking about serious upside in this offense. And Philly Wiz without knows. I mean, this emblem, he's out here repping.
He knows.
I'll do it in this format, though, with this opportunity to go get 101. God,
don't tell me you wouldn't.
Oh, my God, this is easy.
Because you're going to bend over the orphan next year when he comes back and ask first. Like, what did this guy do? Can I get my 25 first back?
The one interesting part, though, to me is this. There is, one of the other big reasons I really do like what he's done here is when I look at draft rank. So, for example, it's talking about how many picks. This also might be a play into even a treasure trove of more picks. So, if you're already hoarding on picks and you're like, you know what, man, I need to just give me this chance of a 101 and 25. Forget running backs for a second. Just think of what that can add to the repertoire of either trading or drafting. Forget it, man. This is ridiculous.
We're spending far too much time on this.
Atrocious. It's the context. The context makes it this, though. It's context. A 25 first for these guys, I'm probably not going to do that. In a chance to one top 3 pick, it's not discussion at all. Last trade. Oh, look at this. Queued up right for the Blitzy.
We're going to have a discussion about this, right? I don't care if Blitz puts himself on the fucking trade show, but you ever do it with a 10-team team again? A 10-team league. We're done.
I'm okay with the 10-team league because there's plenty of 10-team trades on here. What I will say, though, Blitz, is this.
I'm putting my foot down.
No. I'm going to tell you why we put the foot down. 10 teams are out here, okay? This spot is reserved for new patrons, which you are not. All right?
Strike 2.
Strike 3, you're out, buddy. You hear that? Just playing. All right, Blitz. Let's get into your trade. 10-team, Mike. just forget it. I don't even need to see the rest of it. Tyreek Hill there's nothing here that matters. 10 team. I'm good. It's over. It's over.
For those of you in the audience, just
Tyreek Hill and
podcast,
Calvin
dude.
Austin, or the other side is Baker Mayfield, Pittman, and Pacheco, man. Forget it. It's over.
Who gives a fuck? Blitz. You come at us with this bullshit.
You know what I like? I'm just surprised. I'm looking. Where's the flex arm? Like in here, right? Like the.
Surprised he didn't put that in, or that like.
He doesn't deserve this, but I'll do it anyway.
Don't. No, he does not. You take that.
He
back.
doesn't deserve this, but this trade is absolutely. I mean, are you kidding me? Like what? I don't play in 10 team for the record. I would trade. Like, what would you trade right now in a 12-team start 9 to give? It's closer to this. It's still not quite this for Tyreek Hill. Will you trade 2 first?
Yeah.
This is more shallow than that, and there's not 2 first over there. Just get out of here. This is ridiculous. This is
so disappointed.
This is theft, larceny. This is every type of crime.
Horrible.
This is a 4D move. This is. It's not even 4D. It's all at once. This is. I'm sorry. I am so sorry for everybody watching that we
this is how we
troubled you.
This is how we end it.
Finish.
Let's save it. Eyebrows are
Blitz
good.
Did. Blitz is like.
We're good.
Listen, before y'all leave, I just want y'all to see this. All right, this is what happened.
A little bit of hat. Oh, this way. There we go. No,
Mike, people have been wondering and asking questions. At least I've been told. The eyebrow gate thing. What happened? We had one other occurrence, and they want to know, like,
I got a fat
what's
head.
going on?
I got a fat
Because this
head.
is a different hat, though. Last time it was the Iowa hat, right?
Yeah.
It's typically been that Iowa, the gray one with the little yellow Iowa font.
Must be a little bit tighter, right? Really pulls it up. I think it's also my method of putting it on, right? No, who puts on a backwards hat backwards to front, right? It's always front to back, right?
I don't think you can.
I'd like to see somebody who did. Maybe I could find a TikTok or something out there.
For those that want to know, it's like I would just put it like this, okay? That part of your hat is very flimsy, all right?
Yeah.
If you're going to put a spaghetti noodle through a hole, you're going to want it to not be, cooked, all right?
Good call.
There you go.
I think it was just a matter of, I'm in a hurry. Excited to come down and talk to the people.
He's in a hurry. He didn't even have a chance to cook it.
I did not have a chance to cook it. We just put the hat on, and it just happened to lift up one side. I don't know why. And I didn't pay attention to it until the end of the show when we go full screen, and I'm like, what are we doing here?
I personally love this.
we got deep dive into eyebrow gate.
By the way, Mike's camera is looking awful crispy today. He's figured something out with it that was, a little iffy, but now he's got it set. It's looking good. We got no glitching with the solid harmony in the background. We got the tight end U. Mike, let me ask you this, though. That thing is becoming old because the top tight end in Dynasty rankings isn't even on there. Well, are you going TJ or is Sammy LaPorta? You're muted, for the record, but
not good. Well, it's still TJ.
Okay. Is it close?
No, it's not really.
It's not close? Okay. No. Do you have Hawk then getting close to Kelce and Andrews?
Yeah. There's a scenario where Andrews might get unseated here pretty quick, right? Like, I still want to give him time. I don't want to overreact because the new offense. But
the offense, I think, is still a little sputtering and has upside.
Let's acknowledge the fact the Vikings just don't give a shit and they're throwing the football 70 fucking times a game. So
the one thing is, though, this Vikings offense is, since acquiring him, force feeding is a good word to put it.
Right.
So all right. So for now, we still have the tight end that matters, but
Sammy Ballgame
is a surprise 3 weeks in. Like,
yeah.
As much as we liked him, this is a surprise for sure.
That you didn't think a rookie tight end was getting 8 targets a game and actually catching most of them.
That's what everyone told me Dalton Kincaid was going to do.
Yeah, right. He was going to be the slot for Buffalo, huh?
He's, Gabe Davis goes to the wayside. This is the Dalton Kincaid and Stephon Diggs show, right?
That's it, right? Move aside, boys. Dalton Kincaid's here.
Really good trade show until the last trade, I'll say. There was
ruined it.
No, I mean, well, I can't say you
did.
did. I don't think I can't argue that you didn't ruin it. Everything good that they did, you came and you ruined it, Blitz. So
It's a Catalina fucking wine mixer.
this isn't even a judgment call. Bye your Hottie 5000, my friend. I get to fire your ass.
It's a win-win for me.
I look like a genius to the board. This isn't even a judgment call. So, Blitz, we appreciate all the time you put in pulling trades. We will relieve you of your duties starting next week, because this week I'll let you pull them. But next week for sure, you are done. and next week it'll be the following week as well. So, other than that, that's all I got, man. If you liked and enjoyed this content, whether it was Mike's hat, the spaghetti talk, or all the trades, if it was Blitz's egregious 10-team trade that's just larceny, whatever the case may be, go down and let us know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. One thing we're asking everyone to do, if you're on Twitter or on X, go take a look at Fizzle running our South Harmon FF account over there. He's doing a great job. Multiple tweets a day. If you're into just consuming football content, worth a follow. Not to mention we're doing some giveaways. So go take a look at that. SouthHarmonFF.com/warp. Check out all the warp that you saw out there. In your leagues, you can get it for any of your leagues in a sleeper MFL format. Outside of that, you want your deals featured on the show, because someone is going to be the last trade on the show that's not Blitz next time. Patreon.com/South Harmon. $5 a month. Get your trades on here anytime you want. Outside of that, Mike, that's all I got.
That's all I got too, man. Appreciate everybody tapping in. We'll see you back here same time, same place next week.
Peace.